Beneath Antarctica's frozen surface lies a lost world of monster birds.
Antarctica is the last frontier. It holds our imagination. Old maps that said, "Here be monsters." The last remaining territory on the planet that could have such a designation is Antarctica.
Human-sized penguins, lakes that boil with strange life, and volcanoes that bleed gold. It's one of the last truly unexplored regions on Earth, revealing secrets that could rewrite biology and maybe even prove life exists beyond our planet. But nothing will prepare you for the ancient egg scientists found buried under Antarctic ice. So massive, it once held a predator the size of a city bus. The terror bird that ruled Antarctica. Millions of years ago, long before the whiteout wasteland we know today, Antarctica was home to a lush, green rainforest, teeming with prehistoric creatures. But among the ferns and river valleys, something monstrous stalked the land. Paleontologists recently made a spine-tingling discovery on Seymour Island, part of the Antarctic Peninsula. Hidden deep within Ypresian-aged rock, roughly 40 to 50 million years old, they unearthed two massive, curved, razor-sharp claw bones. These weren't just any claws. Their size, shape, and brutal design confirmed it. They belonged to a terror bird. Their scientific genus, Fossilized. These flightless, carnivorous birds once ruled South America. They didn't need wings to fly. They used their insanely strong legs to sprint at their prey like feathered velociraptors, reaching speeds over 40 miles per hour. At over 6 feet tall, some species weighed up to 400 pounds, as much as a modern lion. Now, for the first time ever, their reign has been confirmed in Antarctica. Back then, South America and Antarctica weren't separated by vast oceans. They were part of a once unified landmass, allowing species to migrate freely. These flesh-eating monsters from the southern wilds likely crossed into Antarctica when the climate was mild and lush. And they didn't just survive there, they thrived. But something changed. The Earth entered a cooling period. Slowly, the continent began to freeze, a process that started around 34 million years ago during the transition from the Eocene to the Oligocene epoch. The forests thinned, herbivorous prey populations dwindled, and the terror birds, once unrivaled, found themselves without enough food. In time, they vanished into extinction. Scientists now know why. During this period, average summer temperatures in Antarctica, once reaching as high as 62 degrees Fahrenheit, 17 degrees Celsius, began to drop sharply. The rivers shrank, the lush greenery faded, and the thriving ecosystem that had supported these predators collapsed. Or at least, that's what we think. Because here's where it gets unsettling. All we've found are two claws, no full skeleton, no skull, no trace of nests or eggs. What if we're only scratching the surface? Some researchers speculate that the Antarctic lineage of terror birds might have evolved separately, perhaps into something even bigger. Something adapted to ice, to darkness, to the slow collapse of its ecosystem. There could be a whole family of predators hidden under the ice, a frozen dynasty of nightmare birds perfectly preserved, waiting. For now, we have no choice but to wonder. And this is only the beginning. But before we go any deeper, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button, because what's coming next will make your jaw drop. Human-sized penguins, monster squids, and the myth of the ice wall. If we could rewind time to 38 million years ago and stand along the ancient Antarctic coastline, peering into its icy waters, you wouldn't just see fish. you'd see a penguin your size or even bigger. Meet Paleodyptes klekoskii, the emperor of the ancient Antarctic seas. Fossils show this giant penguin stood nearly 6.5 feet tall and weighed more than 250 pounds. Its beak? It was long, sharp, and built like a dagger, perfect for skewering fish and squid with terrifying efficiency. It didn't waddle, it hunted, and it wasn't alone. Antarctica's ancient oceans were full of predators, and even today, the legacy continues in the form of colossal squid. The colossal squid, Mesonychoteuthis hamiltoni, can grow over 40 feet long, making it one of the largest invertebrates on Earth.
Extremely long lashing tentacles that can grasp onto anything. It's got a parrot's type beak that can rip flesh. It's got eyes that are bigger than any other eyes in the known animal kingdom, the size of a human head.
Its eyes are the size of dinner plates, and its beak is strong enough to slice through whale skin. Some scientists believe the largest ones may never reach the surface, surviving only in the dark abyss below the Antarctic sea ice. And then there's the myth, the one so widespread it's become internet canon. You've heard it. Humans can't travel more than 311 miles inland in Antarctica. The theories go deep. An impassable ice wall, freezing jet fuel, winds so strong they tear your breath away, and no oxygen left to breathe. The truth is a bit more grounded, but no less astonishing. Yes, there's a wall. It's called the Ross Ice Shelf, and it looks like a frozen cliff stretching hundreds of miles wide and over 160 feet tall above the waterline, with another 1,600 feet below.
It's a lot of new stuff that we're going to discover. No one's ever done this before. It's exploration. It's going to be interesting.
But it's not some hidden fortress wall. It's just how glaciers behave when they spread out across the ocean, slowing their descent with gravity and age. And yes, the center of Antarctica is hard to reach, but not impossible. The Amundsen Scott South Pole Station sits nearly 850 miles inland. Planes land there. Researchers live there year-round. They even have Wi-Fi. Jet fuel can freeze, but specialized aircraft use fuel mixes designed to endure extreme cold, and routes are calculated to perfection. And while wind chill might make it feel like minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit, people still walk, ski, and drive across Antarctica's interior, under strict supervision, with support teams and supply drops, of course. Not because there's a secret government wall, but because Antarctica is just that dangerous. But maybe it's no surprise people imagine things, because sometimes truth in Antarctica really is stranger than fiction. Take icebergs, for example. You'd think they break off glaciers and float off into the sea, right? Wrong. They often get stuck, frozen in place by underwater ridges, lingering for decades, unmoving. One iceberg, known as a 23A, stayed trapped for 40 years, finally breaking free, only to spin in an ocean whirlpool for another 8 months. Some never move at all. Others drift thousands of miles and melt somewhere off the coast of South America or New Zealand. So when people spot strange shapes, doorways, ships, even pyramids, it's not always their imagination running wild. Nature plays tricks, especially when we're staring at blurry satellite images of a world so alien we've explored more of Mars than of what lies beneath its ice. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. Volcanoes, lost rainforests, and the gold that bleeds from ice. For a place so frozen, Antarctica is surprisingly on fire. Beneath its miles-thick ice lie at least 138 volcanoes, most of them completely buried. Some haven't erupted for millions of years, but others, very much alive. Take Mount Erebus, for example, the southernmost active volcano on Earth and one of the few with a permanent lava lake. That's right, a churning, glowing pit of molten rock, bubbling at the top of a mountain surrounded by glaciers. It's been erupting non-stop since 1972, spewing gases, heat, and something truly bizarre: gold. Actual microscopic gold particles drift from its crater into the sky, carried by volcanic gas. Scientists estimate that Erebus ejects about 0.2 pounds of gold every day, or nearly $2 million worth per year. But don't grab your gear just yet. These particles are so tiny, or are smaller than a human hair, scattered across miles. It's impossible to collect. But fire isn't the only thing trapped beneath Antarctica. In 2017, scientists drilled deep into the Ross Ice Shelf, expecting to hit water. What they found instead was something stranger: Lake Enigma. It's buried under 36 feet of solid ice, a dark, pressurized body of water completely sealed off from the surface. And yet, it's alive. Inside, researchers discovered an entire microscopic ecosystem. Some perform photosynthesis using the tiniest slivers of light that filter through. Others feed on sulfur and iron, extracting energy from chemical reactions alone. But the most surprising of all were the ultra-small parasitic bacteria, called passive bacteria. These creatures can't survive on their own. They latch onto other organisms like microscopic hitchhikers, living off their hosts in a system so fragile. Even more fascinating? Some of these bacteria closely resemble species found on the surface, but with unique Antarctic adaptations. They may be completely new to science, species that evolved in total isolation. No sunlight, no outside contact, just millennia of frozen silence, shaping life in ways we never imagined. And discoveries like this don't just change how we see Antarctica, they expand how we think about life itself. If microbes can endure these pitch-black depths, surviving without sunlight and feeding only on chemistry, then scientists have a powerful clue about where else life might exist. Europa, the icy moon of Jupiter, and Enceladus, orbiting Saturn, are both thought to hide vast oceans beneath their frozen shells. The parallels are striking: sealed off, dark, pressurized worlds. Findings under Antarctica suggest that in such places, extraterrestrial life may not just be possible, but plausible. But Antarctica isn't done revealing its past either. A few years ago, scientists drilling into sediment beneath the Amundsen Sea found something shocking: amber. Golden droplets of ancient tree resin, trapped deep beneath the sea floor. They were small, less than a millimeter across, but inside them were entire snapshots of the past. Amber only comes from specific trees, the kind that grow in humid, warm rainforests. Meaning, at one time, Antarctica was a jungle. The amber was over 90 million years old, from the mid-Cretaceous period, the age of dinosaurs. And it wasn't alone. Other sediment cores pulled up fossilized roots, pollen, and spores. Evidence of thick forests with ferns, conifers, and flowering plants. Forests that endured even the long polar nights, likely going dormant during the 6 months of darkness like hibernating animals. And that's not all the amber revealed. Some droplets showed signs of damage: bite marks, scorching from wildfire, and resin burns, meaning the trees not only lived, but struggled, battled parasites, and survived fire. And incredibly, the amber was perfectly preserved. Despite spending millions of years under pressure, heat, and sediment, it remained crystal clear, unbroken, and chemically intact. That tells scientists one big thing: there's more of it out there. An entire fossilized rainforest, waiting under the ice. The Giant Egg, Martian Visitor, and Antarctica's frozen fossil vault. In 2011, tucked away in a Chilean museum, a strange object had sat untouched for years, its label missing, its purpose unknown. It was brown, wrinkled, and leathery, shaped like a squashed football. No one really knew what it was, until scientists finally examined it and realized they were holding the largest soft-shell egg ever discovered. It came from Antarctica. This fossil egg measured over 11 inches long and 7 inches wide, dwarfing an ostrich egg. And yet its shell was fragile, soft, and paper-thin, without any pores, a design unlike most known prehistoric eggs. At first, experts couldn't even tell what species laid it. Then they made the connection. This was likely the egg of a giant marine reptile, probably a mosasaur, the dominant predator of the Cretaceous oceans. Think of them as aquatic T-Rex, sleek, terrifying hunters with flippers and jaws full of crushing teeth. This egg proved something revolutionary. Some marine reptiles laid soft-shelled eggs, not live young, as scientists once believed. And more than that, Antarctica, now a desolate polar sheet, once served as a nursery for sea monsters. Alongside the egg, paleontologists unearthed bones of both juvenile and adult mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, reinforcing the theory of an ancient breeding ground beneath the ice. Antarctica is full of forgotten artifacts, but one rock, found in 1984, may be the most important of all. It doesn't look like much, just a gray 4-pound stone, but it came from Mars. Known as ALH 84001, this meteorite was discovered in the Allen Hills region of Antarctica during a NASA-led expedition. It sat unnoticed for years, until scientists examined its interior and found microscopic magnetite crystals, almost identical to those made by bacteria on Earth. Later studies added more weight. In 2020, Japanese scientists detected Martian nitrogen-based organics inside the same rock. Could life once have existed on Mars? If so, this Antarctic meteorite might be our first proof. It had landed on Earth about 13,000 years ago, likely blasted from Mars by an asteroid impact billions of years before that. And of all places to land, it ended up preserved in the cold, dry, ice-swept plains of Antarctica, where time slows and decay halts. The continent's climate acts like a natural cryogenic vault, keeping even delicate samples intact. And that's why Antarctica is now considered the best place on Earth to find meteorites. Not because more fall there, but because it's easier to spot them against the ice. And we've found nearly 50,000 so far. But here's the terrifying part. Scientists estimate we're losing thousands more every year. Why? As temperatures rise, meteorites that once sat exposed on the surface are now sinking beneath the ice, pulled downward by melting and refreezing cycles. That's why researchers are racing to develop smarter tools. Enter Veronica Tolinar, a glaciologist leading the charge. Using artificial intelligence models, satellite data, and climate simulations, her team built an Antarctic-wide heat map to predict the most likely meteorite stranding zones. These are places where ice flows slowly, winds clear the surface, and dark rocks accumulate. But the window is closing. If we don't act fast, we could lose over 250,000 meteorites in the next few decades. Rocks that might contain secrets of the early solar system, or even microbial life from alien worlds. And sometimes, even the most ordinary rock could change everything. Antarctica's ghost continent, pyramids, and blood that falls from ice. If you stripped away the ice covering Antarctica, every frozen mile of it, you wouldn't see a flat desert. You'd see something that looks more like another planet. Massive valleys, jagged ridges, twisting riverbeds, and steep mountains, all preserved under an ice sheet up to 3 miles thick. Scientists call it the ghost of Antarctica's landscape. And for decades, we didn't even know it was there. Why? Because ice is deceptive. It flattens, it hides, and over millions of years, it erases the outlines of what lies beneath. But in one region, East Antarctica, near the Aurora and Schmitz subglacial basins, the opposite happened. Here, the ice didn't erode the land. It protected it. As snowfall layered and compacted into glacial ice, it covered this ancient terrain like a thick blanket. Wind couldn't reach it. Rain never touched it. It was frozen in time, preserving river networks, rocky plateaus, and U-shaped blocks of land that were once part of a sprawling landscape older than any forest alive today. Satellite radar and ice-penetrating scans now reveal the footprint of Antarctica's past. 90-million-year-old rivers, valleys untouched by time, and strange, almost unnatural shapes, including pyramids. Yes, multiple pyramid-shaped peaks have been spotted on satellite imagery near the Ellsworth Mountains, some as tall as 4,000 feet. They've fueled wild conspiracy theories, claims that ancient civilizations once lived here, or that aliens left behind a base buried beneath the ice. One of these so-called pyramids even earned the nickname the Antarctic Doorway, after a rectangular shadow and unnatural-looking lines made it appear like the entrance to an underground facility. The internet went wild. Some said it was a Star Trek-style hangar. Others joked it was Bigfoot's vacation home or the opening to Agartha, the mythical kingdom inside Earth. But scientists have a simpler, though still amazing, explanation. What looks like a doorway is likely a stranded iceberg, grounded on a rock shelf in shallow water. When fast winds sculpt the snow across its flanks, it carves shapes that, from a satellite's eye, mimic walls, arches, and domes. As for the pyramid peaks, they're called nunataks, mountain summits that punch through the ice sheet like islands rising from a sea of snow. And pyramid-like shapes? That's just erosion at work. You can find similar formations around the world, like the Matterhorn in the Alps or Mount Björnsteindur in Iceland. Still, the mystery never dies, because sometimes Antarctica's natural features look anything but natural. Take, for example, the Blood Falls. At first glance, it looks like a glacier is bleeding. Deep in Taylor Valley, in one of the driest parts of Antarctica, a 5-story tall waterfall pours out of a glacier, its waters deep red, staining the ice like a wound. For years, no one could explain it. Was it iron? Algae? Something worse? Turns out, it's even weirder than expected. Blood Falls is actually water from a hidden subglacial lake, trapped beneath the ice for millions of years. The water is super salty, so salty that it doesn't freeze, even at 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That salt water is also rich in iron, and when it contacts oxygen at the surface, the iron oxidizes or rusts, just like blood does. That's what gives the falls their distinctive crimson color. Turns out, it's even weirder than expected. Blood Falls is actually water from a hidden subglacial lake, trapped beneath the ice for millions of years. The water is super salty, so salty that it doesn't freeze, even at 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That salt water is also rich in iron, and when it contacts oxygen at the surface, the iron oxidizes or rusts, just like blood does. That's what gives the falls their distinctive crimson color. But it gets stranger. That underground lake is home to bacteria, unlike anything else on Earth. These microbes don't need sunlight, don't need oxygen, and don't eat food like we do. They live by metabolizing sulfates and iron, thriving in total darkness, in temperatures cold enough to kill almost anything else. They've evolved in isolation for millions of years, forming a closed ecosystem hidden beneath the glacier. Some scientists now see this as one of the best Earth-based analogs for extraterrestrial life. If such bacteria can exist in a blood-red, oxygenless brine sealed under a glacier, who's to say similar life couldn't be hiding beneath the ice on Mars, or on moons like Europa or Enceladus? And remember, this is just one glacier. Beneath Antarctica's ice lie hundreds of subglacial lakes, rivers, and buried valleys. Many of them are untouched, unseen, unexplored, and scientists are only just beginning to drill into them. What do you think lies deeper beneath the ice? Something even stranger than we've found so far. Could Antarctica hold the key to life beyond Earth? Let us know your wildest theory in the comments.